All right. Hello, everyone. We're going to get started now. So welcome to the Roaster Retailer Financial Benchmarking Study webinar. My name is Heather Ward, and I am the Market Research Manager at Specialty Coffee Association. And I want to introduce Holly Mackey. She's the Project Manager at Dynamic Benchmarking, which is our partner in this study and who's been developing the benchmarking platform. And really the goal today is to show you a demo of the benchmarking platform, which Holly will lead. But before I hand it over to her, I wanted to kind of give a bit of a background on this study. This is the first year that we've implemented an online benchmarking study, but it's actually the second iteration of the survey. So in 2015, we surveyed roaster wholesalers and retailers, gathering their financial, operational, and sales information. And the objective of the 2015 study, as well as the 2017 study, this new one, is to provide industry benchmark information. So roasters and retailers can directly compare their performance, their business performance, with that of the industries. So this information we've seen can be useful for writing business plans, setting targets, sales targets, deciding business models. It's just a great tool in business decisions. So it's a great way to inform your decisions, really, to get a better understanding of how other businesses like yours are operating. And this year, we decided to move to the same survey to an online dynamic platform to make it easier for you to fill out and make it more customizable also when pulling the results and the benchmarks. So that kind of gives a little bit of background on where we are. And we also have Andrew on the line. He's the owner of Reverie Coffee Roasters in Wichita, Kansas. So I've asked Andrew just to kind of share his thoughts and experience so far using the benchmarking platform. So Andrew, are you?
Oh, I'm here. Can you hear me?
There he is. Yes.
Yeah. So if you want me to go ahead, I don't know how much time you want me to allot, but I've gone through the process and filled out as much as I could until I got to the point where we need to verify information and get some of the profit and loss and actual bookkeeping numbers. And so I've actually asked my CFO to participate in that, and it's on his task list. So I've pretty much done all the philosophical questions, and then now I'm looking for the hard data to go in there. So that's kind of the stage I'm at right now. As far as the process, it's, for me at least, it's pretty simple. I had to run some numbers from my point of sale system to gather data on how many items I've sold in each of my different categories, from the different types of roasted coffees we offer to the beverages versus non-beverages in our retail store. So I spent time trying to make it as accurate as possible. I always know that the better the data, the better the results. But I do know that if a cafe is not that organized, it's going to be complicated for them to get really good data. And that's just an observation, but I don't know how you help someone who's not done a good job of planning their business. It's a lot of information to try to complete. It's taken me a couple of sessions to sit down and go through it, and I'm still not finished. However, it's definitely possible. There's a few questions I have I've not reached out to Heather on in regards to what they're asking for. I even had my wife look at this, and we couldn't figure out exactly what they were asking for. I would log in again and communicate with you, Heather, about that particular question, because it was in regards to, I think, I wasn't sure if they're asking about a retail sale volume versus coffee sale volume or something similar to that, and it was just one of those. If I don't get it right, it's going to probably skew the data, and it's going to be less valuable. But we can work through that. So other than that, I'm incredibly excited to get this information into the system and hope that I get information out, even if we don't have a huge volume of people in our region, because I'm in a relatively undeveloped coffee region. But getting just nationwide data really supports us in our growth efforts and knowing the direction we're heading. and it's critical to kind of know where you stand. It's kind of the other elephant in the room that we say. It's like wanting to know where we stand in comparison to our competitors. And as we look to grow our business, we have investors and people looking at us and not really sure what we do or how we do things, and how they can maybe benefit from helping us. And so having this benchmarking data will allow them to quickly identify opportunities just simply because they're not experienced in the coffee business. So I think it's going to be a good thing to have. I just hope that other people, when they decide and hear about this and then decide to complete it, they follow through and get it finished, because it is quite a bit of data, and I do understand business owners are very busy, and it's really easy to just think about doing it and then start it and then forget about it. So that's kind of my 2 cents. And if you'd like me to answer anything specifically, I'd be happy to do so.
No, that's great. Hopefully this demo and going through on Holly will go through the platform and the tips and tricks and whatnot. So yeah, thank you so much for your input there. And I think we're ready to turn it over to Holly, and hopefully we'll answer some of those questions ahead of time. And then we're also available for more questions if anybody has after, or even through email at any time. So Holly, if you want to take it away.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much, Heather, and thank you, Andrew, for sharing some of your initial experience with the survey. I hope everyone can see my screen.
Yep.
And I will walk you through, excellent, I will walk you through the whole process here. So what I'm going to do so that we reduce any background noise or whatever is I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to mute everyone. If you have a question as we're going through, feel free to use the chat function and just, shoot it off to us. And then at the end, we'll open it up for Q&A. So we'll get to any of the questions submitted to us via the chat function. And then, if anybody's holding their question at the end, we'll open it back up and let everyone ask their questions. So. All right, so as you see here, I am on what we call the login screen for the benchmarking platform, and you'll see the URL up here. It's scafbs.com, and preceding that, you see the HTTPS. S is one way of letting you know that this is a secure site. We do take data security very seriously at Dynamic Benchmarking. So please know that all of your data is secure. It is being encrypted while you're sending it to us. Dynamic Benchmarking, as well as Specialty Coffee, will never see any of your passwords. And the platform is protected with an SSL certificate. So just some things there to, for you to be aware of and feel comfortable using this platform. So once you come here, what you're going to do is you're going to enter your username and your password here. A large majority of accounts have already been set up with a primary user, so you should have received an email already from Specialty Coffee with a link for your initial login. If you did not receive that email and feel that you should have been set up already, you can certainly, use the little link up here and contact us, and that will send, Heather and her team a quick email. Or if you are new to Specialty Coffee or a non-member and you're looking to participate, if you click here, you can go through a sign-up form and set up your account and get right into and be able to start taking the survey. So I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to click submit, and that's going to bring us right into the initial part of the survey. And what you're going to see here initially is what we call our welcome pop-up window, and it gives you some key points in terms of what you need to know before you get started. One of the key items here is letting you know that in order to access survey results when they're released, you need to complete at least 50% of the survey. And as it's here, 50% is good, it'll get you your results, But the more information that you input, the more beneficial and valuable the data and the reporting come not only to you, but to other participants as well. So the more robust the data set, the more it benefits everybody participating. Some reminders here, make sure you're entering your 2016 data, and there's some additional links here to different documents that we're going to talk about as we go through. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close this window. And now we are in the platform here. Excuse me. And one thing to note is we have two versions of this survey. They are almost identical, except one is a European version delivered to the European users and allows them to enter their data in the euro. So everywhere in the demo that you see today where there's a dollar sign, there's a euro sign for the European participants, but they're essentially collecting all of the same data. They're just reporting it a little bit differently for their data set. So the other thing that some of you have already done is reach out to Heather and say, I am both a roaster and a retailer, but I want to submit the information for my two functions, my two business operations separately. And what Heather will do at that point is create a second account for you with one login. So if you are indeed one of those users, you're going to get what we refer to as account switching. So once you come in here with your one login, you're going to be told here, this will be your name, this happens to be a test account, and this will be your company name. And you'll know right away which account you're in. And then up here in the upper left corner, you're going to see a current account notation with a drop down. And you can switch between these two accounts using that. So if you come in, you might be Coffee Roaster A wholesale or Coffee Roaster A retail. And those might be, you know, what your accounts are called, but it'll be clear to you which is your retail and which is your wholesale account, so that you'll be able to enter your data separately as you requested. Once you are in this survey, as Andrew alluded to earlier, you can come and go as often as necessary. So if you come in and you're able to answer, you know, a handful of questions now and get started, that's great. You can save your data, and then you can contact with other colleagues and get the other information you need and come back in. So you are certainly able to do that. The key is making sure that you are saving your data each time you go through. The other thing that you are able to do, should you wish to do so, is add another employee or another contact to your benchmarking account. So if, for example, Andrew wanted to add his CFO directly to access this benchmarking survey so that he could input the financial data directly, he can do so. He would do so by going up here and clicking on Company Setup. And that brings you to this screen here where you're going to see your information. Again, we're just in a test account here. But you'll see that right now there are 2 users in this test account. And as I scroll down, you see the information here where you can select a user, or you can select to add a new user and give them access to this survey. You can also control the level of access that your users have. An administrator is what all of the initial users have been set up as, and that means that you have access to this company setup and you can manage all of your users. The other levels of users are a read-write user, and a read-write user would be a user who can enter data and view results, but they don't have the administrator capabilities to add or manage other users. A read-only user would only ever have access to viewing the results when they're released, but would not be able to enter data. A write-only user would only be able to enter data, but would never have permission to access results. So you are certainly welcome to do that and add additional users to your account. And when you do, they would receive an email saying, welcome to the benchmarking survey. Here's your username. We encourage you to use their email address for their username. And then it'll give them a temporary one-time use password to allow them to log in and set up their password for the account. All right. And now let's talk a little bit more about the survey itself and walking through. You're going to see here that we've got 4 different tabs across the top here. We have Enter My Data, which is where we're going to do just that. That's going to be the tab where we enter all of our data. The See How I Compare tab is going to let us look at question-by-question comparisons. We have a 2015 Static Report tab, which is where once you have completed 50% of the survey, even before the 2016 results are released, you can download and view the 2015 report. And then we have the last tab here, Run Dynamic Reports. And once our dynamic results are released, that'll be where you can do just that. And you can look at PowerPoint and Excel reports and compare yourselves against your peers. And we will look at all of that as we go through the survey here. So some things to note here, you see all different icons happening here. So in this particular case, the blue circle, if I scroll over that, I have no answers yet. That blue circle means that I have not started entering data yet. If we come up here, we have kind of a dotted circle. I've started answering questions, but I have not answered them all. The green check means that I've answered all of the questions in that particular piece of the survey. And then we have a couple of warning symbols here. The orange warning symbol means that I have 2 questions with an invalid calculation. So we'll have to take a look at that when we dive in here. And then here it tells me I have 1 unanswered required question. So there is only 1 required question in the whole survey. So in addition to answering the 50% to access your results, please make sure you have answered that 1 required question, because even if you had answered 75% of the survey, if you don't answer that 1 question, it will still prevent you from getting access to the results. So keep that in mind. And we'll take a look at what that question is here in just a moment. And then under each of these question groups, you see it tells you how many of the questions you have answered for each of those sections. In this last section, you don't see a question tally here because these are all calculated metrics. These are all calculations done for you to show you your performance measures and ratios. And we'll take a look at that here in a bit as well. And then on the bottom here, you have your overall progress bar. So here it tells us we've completed 54% of the survey, and we will have access to the results when they are released in June. So now what I want to do is I want to get into looking at some of these questions. And I can start anywhere I want. So as I mouse over this, you'll see that each of these different breakdowns of questions here is an active link. I'm going to choose to start here in the profile section under company overview. And that's going to bring me here. And right away, before I scroll down too far, you already see this red asterisk. That is my 1 required question. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make sure that I answer this. And I'm going to say that I am a combined roaster wholesaler and roaster retailer. And as I do that, you see where the background of this question has turned green. That's my indicator that I've either entered new data or I've changed some of the data that I've entered previously. And I need to make sure before I navigate away from this page that I hit the Save button at the bottom. So we'll do that here in just a minute. We have all kinds of format questions in this survey. That one that we just looked at was a choose 1 multiple choice. We also have some select all that apply style multiple choice, So here, other business operations, I'm also a roaster retailer, and I guess I'm an importer green broker as well. So I'll answer that question. Here, I did not say that I have any other business operations. So in this follow-up question, we're asked to indicate other business operations. I simply marked NA because that question does not apply to me. I'll go ahead and I will answer here that I am an LLC. And again, as I go through this, you see where the background is changing colors. We have a whole series of questions here. You'll see in a lot of the questions, the help text here, or what we call help text, under each question, giving you a little bit more detail as to what we might be asking for, or possibly some definitions. So here around the regions, it tells you what states are included in each of those regions. For staff, I'm going to go ahead and here and say I have 2 production staff and I have 2 retail staff. And it gives me, and I know I've already entered that I had a total of 4 employees, so I'm just going to enter that breakdown for now. And again, here I see source of capital. I did not select other. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click NA here. Now I have a couple of options here. I can click Save or Save and Next. If I clicked Save and Next, it would automatically bring me to the next tab. But for now, I'm just going to click Save because I want you to see on this tab the change here now once I've saved. So now if I scroll down and you see the answers that I had just submitted are now all saved. The green background in anything that I had just typed in is now white, indicating that indeed my answers have been saved. If I click Save and Next, you'll see where it brings me now to the next set of questions in this particular question group. So now I'm on the Sales tab. I could also navigate by clicking on any of these tabs as well, or I can always either click on this breadcrumb here or on this logo here, and it will bring me back to the home page. But before I do that, I want to take you down here, and we are going to take a look at a couple of the warnings that we saw on that home screen. And we see the first one here, it's in yellow, that this is a calculated value, but if I scroll over here where the warning is, my total should be 100%. So my operation, or my sales by operation type, shouldn't be 110%, which means I've made some errors here in entering my data. So if I go up here and I make a couple of edits, again, you're going to see where my fields have turned green as a result of that. And if I hit Save, I'll come back up here now, and you're going to see my warning has gone away. I'm now at 100% value. And you'll see as we scroll down, my other warning here is because I'm only at 90% and I should be at 100. So we're just going to leave that the way it is for now. And we're going to come back up here, and then I'm going to click on the main logo, and it's going to bring us back right here to our home page. Now what I want to show you real quick is the calculations that you're going to be able to see with some business data for you before we even get to the releasing of results. So if we go over to the key performance measures and ratios and we click in here, you're going to see a whole series of calculations that have already happened to provide you with some business intelligence to help guide you even before you're able to compare your results against those of your peers. And again, every one of these is calculated based on the data that you have entered in various sections of the survey already. And here, if we click Save and Next, because this was the only section in this group of questions, it's going to bring us right back here to the home screen. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through some of the results. And please keep in mind that all of the results you're going to see right now are based on large amounts of sample data that have been put into the platform for demonstration purposes. So don't, start to get worried about where you might compare against any of the information that you're about to see. Again, this is all sample data, but we wanted to be able to show you the functionality and demonstrate to you some of the things that you're going to be able to do once you have access to results. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on the See How I Compare tab. And once I do, you're going to note that there's a lot of similarities here to the Enter My Data tab, except you no longer have any question tallies, and there's no longer a progress bar here at the bottom of the page. Otherwise, everything here looks very much like it did on the first tab. I'm going to go ahead, and what I want to look at first is I'm going to go into the profile section here. The profile section will allow us to take a good look at the difference between our numeric and our multiple choice comparisons. So at the top of the page, you see the filters there. We will come back to that. But one of the things that I do want you to make note of here is that we have results for all 15 questions with an average of 53 responses per question. An important thing to note is that, again, we are very serious about data anonymity, and we make sure that at no point will a user ever be able to see a result for which there is not enough data to protect data anonymity. There will always be a minimum of 5 data points for a given result in order to show those results to ensure data anonymity at all times. So if there is ever a case where you see that there's not a result available, it gives you a little message and tells you there's not a result available, that is because there's simply not enough data to protect data anonymity and deliver results. So now as we come down here, the first question we come to again is your survey reporting scope. And this is a multiple choice question. So what you see here is for each of the multiple choice answer options, it tells you the percentage of respondents that have selected that option. My answer is indicated in blue. So as you recall, I had said that I'm a combined roaster wholesaler and roaster retailer. I can also access a pop-up chart for nearly every question in the platform. And I say nearly only because there are 2 questions for which we do not have a pop-up chart. And they are both actually on this page, and they are related to your location. We do not have a pop-up chart for your country, and we do not have a pop-up chart for the state, merely because there are so many options that it just will not display on a pop-up chart for those 2 particular items. But we ask them in order for you to be able to filter, which again, we will come to. So if I ever want to view a pop-up chart with that particular question's results, I will mouse over and click on that little chart symbol, and you see here it pops up, and now I have all of the information that I need. It tells me, again, the percentage of respondents that selected each item. It tells me where I selected. I have the option of downloading and saving this as a PDF or as a PowerPoint slide. And then I could share that information with any of my colleagues or business partners that I choose to do so. If we also scroll down here a little bit more, you'll start to see a couple of numeric responses. So here, what we're looking at, to the far left, we see a number of locations as 1. That 1 represents the 25th percentile. The 3 here to the far right represents the 75th percentile. And the 2 in the middle represents the median. Again, my response is indicated in blue. So I have 2 locations, which puts me in the 50th percentile. So here, in terms of the number of years in operation, I've been in operation for 5 years, and I'm in the 33rd percentile. All right, so now what I want to do, we're actually going to take a look at a pop-up window here for the numeric. And again, you'll see charted here, you have the 25th, the median, and the 75th percentile, excuse me, with a green dot indicating my percentile and my value. And again, we have the same options here for this pop-up chart to download and save it as a PDF or as a PowerPoint. Now I want to scroll back up here and talk about how to view the results and apply your filters so that you're looking at a peer set that is most meaningful to you. So without applying any filters, we're comparing ourselves against the entire data set. So again, right now, that's 53 responses on this particular page. But I want to drill down a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here on Change. And I first want to start off by saying I only want to look at others who are also a combined roaster wholesaler, and roaster retailer. And once I do that, I need to be sure to click Apply. And we'll activate that filter. And now if you scroll down here, we're still able to see 15 of 15 questions with an average of 25 responses per question. Now if we scroll down here, the change here in this first question should be obvious. We should expect this because we just filtered and said I only want to look at those who said that they were combined roaster wholesaler and roaster retailer. So 100% of this data set are roaster wholesaler and roaster retailer. So again, you'll see the difference if we look at that pop-up chart. And now if we scroll down a little bit here, you're going to see I went from, I believe it was the 35th percentile to now I'm the 41st percentile in terms of number of years of operation. I'm still in the 50th percentile here, but if you remember, it was 3 in terms of the number of locations for the 75th percentile, but now the 75th percentile is at 4. And we are 21% owned and 79% leased. But I want to drill down a little bit more. Now I want to look at those who just have similar number of locations. So again, I clicked up here to apply a filter, and I'm going to click Add for my number of locations. And you can do this a couple of different ways. You can certainly use the scroll bars here to set your number of locations, or you can just type in here the number of locations you want to look at. So I want to look at somebody else who's in the 2 to 4 location range. And again, I'm going to click Apply. And now I'm looking at just an average of 9 responses per question. We're still able to see all 15 because all 15 questions still meet the minimum threshold of 5. And if we scroll down here, I'm back down to the 33rd percentile. Whereas when I just looked at combined roaster wholesaler and roaster retailer, I was in the 41st. And then if we look here at the ownership status, you can see it went from 19 in 81 down to 18 in 82. So you've seen a slight change there as well. But this is just a brief demonstration in terms of how you can apply filters and start to look at different subsets of data so that you can look at results that are most meaningful to you. Now, once you have got a set of filters that you think is what you want to be able to look at regularly, and you want to save that, we certainly can. We can save that as a favorite. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on that. And we're going to say this is a combined 2 to 4 locations. And that gives me a little bit of detail on what that favorite filter is, what's in it. And I'm going to say OK. And now you'll see here, I now have another row of filters where I can select my favorites. I'm going to go ahead at this point. If I click change, again, you'll see where I can open this up to eliminate any numeric question. If I click on the X, and I can return that back to any for a multiple choice. I'm going to click cancel on that for now because I do want to hang on to the filter settings we have for just a moment longer. And now what I want to do is I want to come here to the Run Dynamic Reports. And you'll see, even though I switched from my question-by-question comparisons to running dynamic reports, my filters have carried forward with me. Before I run any reports, I am going to go ahead and I am going to return this back to being of the full data set. And I'm going to click apply. And as soon as I do, you'll see where I'm back to having any listed here for all of these items. And now what we're going to take a look at here, I actually have run some of these reports in advance so that we can take a look at them. We are going to start off by looking at the business details here. And you're going to see that we have a variety of slide types available. We're going to start off here and take a look at, we have a vertical column report that shows, again, each of our options and the percent of respondents that have responded to that. Now, because I ran this report earlier, you do not see a green column here indicating roaster wholesaler and roaster retailer. If I ran this report right now, you would see a green column here. But if we look at the next chart here, the number of locations, you do see where my business is indicated in green, excuse me, with 2 locations. We have a variety of chart types here. We have a couple of pie charts where you can look at your region and community size and see what others have responded as well. And then we can also look here at a clustered column report for our staffing numbers in terms of your wholesale, your retail, and your total employees. One of the other reports that we have available here is our key performance measures and ratios. And you'll see here, when I ran this report, I did apply a filter. So I ran it and I applied the combined roaster wholesaler and roaster retailer filter. So that information now applies in my header. So when I apply filters and I run one of these reports, I will always know which filters I applied when I ran that report. So if I save it and go back to it later, I'm not going to have to guess. It's going to tell me right there what filters I had applied. And in this particular report, we have some information here. Again, it's our overview of our KPIs. So what we looked at a little bit ago on the data entry tab, where I was able to see my results, I can now see how my results compare to everyone who's participated in the survey so far in chart format. So we have our net sales and our net sales per location. We have our overall profitability charts here. And if we scroll down a little bit more, you're going to come across, you have your financial ratios, your financial management ratios. You see here how we've got, you have your current and your quick ratio together. We have our inventory turnover. And then we have our gross margins per FTE employee. So that's another example of the reports that will be available to you. Again, I caution, all of this is sample data that we are looking at right now. So again, please don't take any of this to heart in a business sense. All of that is sample. And the last report that I ran to be able to share with you all today is the Excel report. And what the Excel report does is it captures in a spreadsheet format the responses to every question in the survey, again, with the exception of the country and state data points, because again, there is so many lines to those that it would be tough to include it here and keep this report, concise and easy to read. You'll see here along the bottom, we have several tabs to look at. Our first tab here are your KPIs. So very much like we just looked at in the PowerPoint slide presentation, you have your performance measures, you have your financial management ratios. The first column here that you see gives you your data. It's what your response was and what your percentile is. And then it tells you the 25th, the median, and the 75th percentile. Excuse me. And then it tells you the number of responses available in order to produce that calculation. All right, so if we actually come back here, so we're seeing, a lot of numbers in the teens, reflective of the fact that when I ran this report, I ran it with this filter of the business type being combined roaster wholesaler and roaster retailer. So my number of responses is reflective of this subset of data. And then our tabs from there reflect the order that they are presented in the survey, where we are able to see what our median selection rate is, or our selection rate is, for our multiple choice questions. So in this particular case, the question here around other business operations, these are our answer options, and this is the response rate here. So a little bit different from the numeric reporting that we saw on the previous tab and that we see down here below. So again, you'll see here my information, the 25th, the median, and the 75th percentile. And then for the multiple choice questions for which I had previously had a response, you'll see a check mark next to my responses. So here I was in the Northeast region. So that's just a sample, again, of all of the different reporting options that you will be able to see. We also give you some information here, income statement as a percent of net sales, and you'll also see some charts available on your balance sheet as a percent of total assets, are things that you're going to be able to look at charts and graphs for once the results are released. Some other things that I want to just cover really quickly here before we open this up for Q&A are some other pieces of this platform. So again, we've talked about navigating back to the home page at any point in time. You can always click on this logo here. That will bring you right back here to your main landing page where you'll be able to access any of the tabs here. If you wanted to jump to any section in either entering my data or see how I compare, you can certainly use these drop-down menus as well. So if we just navigated here, it's going to bring us right into that compare piece, which is a little bit different from how we navigated into here the first time around. From any of these pages, you have the opportunity to save your comparisons as a spreadsheet so that you can look at them in that way as well. But again, under your dynamic reports, you're going to have the Excel spreadsheet that's available to you to download as a report. And the last thing that I want to point out to you here is the support page. So if we click on that support page here, you'll see here some information. Again, we have a document that talks about the data entry icons. We have data collection worksheets. So if you have a colleague, again, I speak of what Andrew talked about earlier, he's going to have a CFO help him submit some data. He could certainly print out this data collection worksheet. It's an Excel document that has every question in the platform, and say, can you just put the data here and give it back to me, and I'll go ahead and enter it if you did not wish to add him as another contributor directly in the platform. And then we also have a user guide, which is a PDF document that will walk you through using the platform. And again, it covers, in about 15 slides or so, a lot of what we talked about here today. We also have here on this page some information on applying your filters and how to use your filters. Some more information, a little bit more in depth about the data security and the confidentiality. We have the terms of use agreement here if you wish to read that. And then again here, if you ever need to reach out and contact Specialty Coffee, you can do so at that email right there at the bottom. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to allow everyone, should you have a question, you will be able to dial *6 so that you can ask that question. And I know that we did have some questions coming in via the chat function as well. Heather, did you kind of capture those as we went along?
Sorry, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I thought I had to push stars. Capture what? Can you repeat that?
So we had some, maybe he is all set. So, yep. Somebody had asked the best way to reach out. So again, it's on the support page. At the bottom is the link to the email address. Or on the very first, the login page, there's a contact us button in the top right corner.
And it's research@sca.coffee, and it'll go directly to me and the research team.
Excellent. Does anyone else have any questions that they wish to ask? Again, dial *6 to unmute yourself. All right, Heather, it looks like we have a question here coming in about when results are going to be available.
So we need to get enough respondents to be able to release the results. And so far, we have the time frame about June. We're kind of putting that window. So we don't have an exact date, but it'll be about June time frame. So we're still in the data collection period right now. So hoping to get enough respondents to be able to share the information.
Excellent. All right. Any other questions? All right, so we do have a question here in terms of the number of responses needed. I will answer part of that, and then I will let Heather kind of follow up. Again, in terms of protecting data anonymity, we want to make sure that we have a minimum of 5 responses for each question or calculation presented in the platform in order to be able to release results. And again, that is a data anonymity protection. But beyond that, I will let Heather speak a little bit to the overall threshold for releasing results and what you're looking for.
Yeah, our goal really is to get 200 respondents minimum. We had about 205, I believe, in 2015, and that was a pretty good sample size. So this is set up differently. Like Holly was saying, throughout each question we'll have different response rate or different number of respondents. So, but overall, we would love to get over about minimum 205 respondents filling out 50% or more of the survey. What can we do?
All right, and that's all your great question. I'll let you take it, Heather.
Yeah, I was going to say, tell all your friends. We're doing a promotional campaign right now We've sent emails out to members and non-members also in our database, and just social media, any way you can, spread the word as well, share it through your social medias and get people to fill it out. I think that would be much appreciated, because it'll be valuable for all of us. The more we could get, the better the data is going to be.
Absolutely. And again, if they do not already have an account, they can come here to the sign up form and they can create an account and get started. And whether your friend is down the street or down under, they can certainly participate. They'll just start here by indicating where exactly they are, and then they'll give us a little bit more specific information, and they'll be able to get right into the survey. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you all. I appreciated the opportunity to present today, and I will let Heather wrap things up.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Holly. This is super useful even for me to go through it again and see everything. I am available if anybody has any questions while you're filling out the survey, anything at all. I can be reached at research@sca.coffee, and also Heather W. at SCA.coffee. That also goes directly to me. So thank you everyone for joining, and we're hoping to get these results released in June. So tell everyone.
All right, very good. Thank you all again. And as you heard at the beginning, we did record this presentation. So as you reach out to your colleagues in the industry and encourage them to participate, there will be a link to this webinar as early as tomorrow on the support page that we just took a look at here. And obviously, if you reach out directly to Heather, she could certainly share it as well.
Great.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks.